Hello and welcome to our webinar, which is entitled End-to-End Lineage for Financial Services, the missing link for both compliance and AI readiness. My name is Mark McCord. I'm the editor of Data Management Insight here at A-Team Group, and I'll be moderating this webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to share some events with you that we have coming up in the next couple of weeks. Use the QR code on your screen to see more details. On the 15th of October, we have a webinar which is entitled on Unlocking Transparency in Private Markets, Data-Driven Strategies in Asset Management. On the 16th of October, we have our big RegTech Summit London. That's at the ETC venues in the Fenchurch Street area of the City of London. And then on the 5th of November, there's another webinar, which this one is Navigating a Complex World, Best Data Practices in Sanctions Screening. For today's webinar, we have a great panel of speakers. We have Murali Duvapu from Scotiabank, Cheryl Benoit from Mizuho, and Christian Bremo from Meta Integration. I'll ask them all to introduce themselves fully in a moment, but first, let me introduce you all to Slido, the audience participation app we'll be using today. We will be running 3 polls during the webinar, and we'll be using Slido for this and also for audience questions if we have time. To take part in the polls and ask questions of our speakers, please scan the QR code on the screen or go to slido.com and enter the code DMI Webinars. That's DMI Webinars. We will also place this link in the Slido chat box for you now. And you can find the chat icon on the top right of your screen. If you get stuck with Slido, don't worry. Type your questions into the questions box, also found in the top right corner of the screen, and our team will move them over to Slido for you. So let's go to our speakers. And Cheryl, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your interest in this topic.
I think you might be on mute, Cheryl, if you hear us.
Thank you. Thank you. I am the risk data steward for Mizuho Bank, and we are establishing our enterprise data management framework as we speak. So it's exciting for me to expand this out to our different organizations, and also, since it's a foreign firm, engaging them in what our vision is for a global framework for all of our data. So it's exciting. I've worked at JP Morgan, I've worked at Deutsche Bank and Fifth Third Bank, and this has been such an exciting road for me for so many decades.
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. Murali, tell me about yourself, or tell us all about yourself.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for this great opportunity. I have been working in Scotiabank for the last 8 years, primarily automating the data lineage for all our finance regulatory reports, trade surveillance, AML, and risk reporting. Those are the domains, primary domains. And prior to working for Scotiabank, I worked in US Federal Reserve, Deloitte, and AIG, primarily in the data management area for quite a long time. That is my background, and I have extensive experience in data lineage implementation. That is my core strength, and that is what I would like to share my ideas, how we did, and what are the best things that Fed is looking, how can we enable the lineage effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Murali. And finally, but not least, Christian.
Thanks, Mark. This is Christian Bremo. I'm the CEO and founder of Meta Integration Technology. Not a brand name, as usual, but this is a brand name that is underneath most vendors of data integration, data catalog, business intelligence tools. So we are the data lineage, of course, but all the metadata components underneath software like Microsoft Purview, underneath Informatica, data catalogs, and SAP, Oracle, SAS, and all of this. So that's what we do for a living, is provide these metadata components. We've been around for 25 years, and we now also offer the same components directly to banks and customers under the brand Meta Carta. which is a brand we introduced for direct to customers. But yes, metadata for 25 years. I could say anything else, but that's what I've done just after school. So that's it.
Great stuff. Thanks. Now we've all got to know each other. Let's move on to the our questions. And the first one is, why is data lineage critical to modern data architectures? And Christian, let's start with you.
Well, this is the topic of today's presentation and discussion, obviously. So really, data lineage is the heartbeat of the enterprise, from the business applications on the left side, and that could be the websites, the ERP system, and all your core application, financial applications behind that, and all the way to the right side, but your reporting capabilities, your BI reports and all these kind of activities. And on the right side, it goes beyond BI, not to just say the bad word right away, AI, but it's just a continuation from pre-can reports, BI reports, to data used as input for AI. So it is really the heartbeat. I mean, what people are looking for is way more than a data catalog as an inventory of your data in your data warehouse. It doesn't cut it anymore. You need a full metadata management foundation capable of understanding where data is coming from and where data is going to. And when we say end-to-end lineage, which is the topic of today, we're not even talking just about the surrounding of a data warehouse, how it comes to the data warehouse and goes to the BI. It really has to go from the absolute left to the absolute right, which in typical large companies crosses so many tools and technologies, but you have to bring together, stitch together, and make it work. And people want real data, meaning that we're not talking at the high level, this goes in these reports. They're going down to table level, and even table level doesn't cut it. The real data is at the feature, what we call column level, feature level, where if an SSN is detected, another typical scenario of lineage, you got to track it down everywhere down. And really that is important, and that what people need is the proven data lineage, not just a guess, we think from the log, it might come from there to there. No. Just tell me which transformation in which tool took this data and to do what, and what was done in the report. When there are audits in finance, so actually, frankly, vertical markets, it's not a lightweight answer. It's not an AI answer. It's not I've browsed the log, I think there is a match. You need proven technology lineage. So again, the heartbeat of the enterprise, that's the data lineage, end-to-end data lineage.
Murali, the heartbeat.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian. Very good point you raised. And I'll just add a few more important points. What we say is without the data lineage, you just cannot govern the data at all. That is how we took the position. Why? You cannot actually implement the proper DQ or remediation or anything without having the data lineage. Why? You cannot identify the right source systems effectively and right elements, CDEs from the source systems. So having the right data lineage is so important for the data governance, especially in this new platforms and architecture. We handle so much massive volumes of data, structured, unstructured data, and this tracing is very, very important, where the data is coming from. So this effective tracing is going to empower both the data producers and the consumers by providing the trust and fast debugging and a very effective impact analysis. When they identify a problem, they can actually easily track it down and remediate that issue. So I would say that in this modern architecture, more and more systems are getting added with a lot of data pipelines and all that. This lineage is becoming more and more important to govern the data very effectively. Thank you.
I can't agree more with all of you. When we talk about heartbeat, it's critical because it the foundation for everything. It truly is our heartbeat. It builds trust, transparency, and control of the data, right? It helps us all get on the same platform as far as data is used, regardless of your organization, right? We need to be able to trace it from its ingestion through all the transformations, through all the different business rules and logic that's applied, all the derivations to its end state. And we've got to be able to remediate all issues at the ingestion. I think I read somewhere that for all bad data input, it ends up costing the firm $100 at the end of the day, when it would have only been $1 up front if we had just had the appropriate processes and controls in place. So I can't agree with my panelist partners more.
Excellent. Well, Cheryl, staying with you then, with that in mind, how can metadata bring value to an organization?
Oh my gosh, we're just establishing our secure AI is what we're using. And as we pull back the layers of the onion, because we never had this level of data lineage before, we're uncovering so much, right? Wait a second. You're using what data element for your calculations, and you're using this data element? No, 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 no. That's why you're not coming back with the correct reconciliation. We need to agree on the appropriate golden source. It gives us transparency into how all organizations are structuring and reporting and using the data. And it helps us fine tune it and get to the true golden source and true issues that are out there in the universe. I couldn't agree with Christian and Morali more that it is the foundation, the heartbeat of all that we do. And as we set up our new metadata lineage items, it's become even more transparent how important it is for us to understand our business.
Right. And Murali, is that what you see as well in Scotiabank?
Absolutely. Yeah, business-wise, they need to understand exactly what elements they are actually using it, and they wanted to understand those definitions. Is it coming from the right book of records? Uh, so those kind of things are really important, and what producers are using and what consumers are really thinking about that it should match. So the metadata, business metadata is very, very important for everybody to understand in consuming the data.
Right, right. Excellent. That's a great opening. Let's start asking the audience some questions. We've got a few poll questions that you can answer on Slido. And the first question we have for you all is, does your organization have specific lineage hygiene tools and procedures in place? And like I mentioned, there's the Slido panel there. You can use the QR code to log in. In terms of hygiene, Christian, how can data lineage be broken, and what tools can organizations deploy to fix it or ensure it remains intact?
Yeah, I didn't think of them as hygiene tools, but yes, they are in some way. Well, it can be broken at many different places. I just want to come back to the previous question: how does it bring value to the organization? Just for a second, so that we can see where it's broken. And where it brings value to the organization, we must consider both the technical users and the business users. So the data lineage is needed for both. For technical users, this is all about the impact of change. As Morali just mentioned, he said this is a high volume, high pace of change. It keeps changing all the time. And to keep up with that pace and productivity, this is where data lineage provides the answer to the technical users. You want to add a couple of fields to be stable in Snowflake. You want to change things left and right. From the lineage, you're going to understand, the engineers are going to understand precisely what is impacted. which jobs you need, surrounding jobs needs to be fixed. It could be a stored procedure, it could be an ETL, it could be 10 of these BI reports at this precise place. And that's what's going to be broken at that point. And the business users see the value also from the data lineage from a different perspective, because they don't understand what a DI or an enterprise architecture is, for that matter, and it doesn't matter to them. What they care about is they look at their BI reports and they want to understand what's on it, what's on its pie chart, what's the definition, and where's it coming from. Okay, so that's where the data lineage tells you all the way back. It comes from our website of a company that basically the transaction came out there. And then right there, is there any other related reports? I didn't know we were capturing that. So this is like the business user experience of data lineage. They're not solving, they're just learning, and they want to know what else is available. So at the end of the day, data lineage really brings together the technical community, basically you IT, you developers behind DI and BI, and the business users. And that is very important. Part of the failure and what can get broken is too much focus on one community without the other. Both are needed. They need to be together on that. And you need a platform, again, that is capable to present a perspective of a data lineage that is good for technical users. Yes, you've seen this lineage diagram, we are very techy and things. And business users just simplify all this. Just tell me where are the related reports and where can I find, possibly in another tool. They don't care, out there. That's this kind of thing. So what can break is if your tools are not doing the proper lineage. They need to really not just look at log, but almost emulate every stored procedures, every DI, every transformation, every BI, take the runtime parameter to dynamically produce the lineage so that if the BI user said, that doesn't look right, then the technical guy can immediately jump on it and say, oh yeah, that transformation was copied
Didn't
here.
work.
Yep, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. I remember, not to point out this particular application, but long time ago, we worked with Oracle finance applications. And a story of broken lineage here was that a data type has changed on a table. Nothing else, table names, column names, but what was a string became an integer. And surprisingly, BI tools, didn't detect the change. The reports were not proper, were not right, but it was on the stitching of all these things together to make the data lineage and say, well, it all looks right, but this has changed, and the simplified view of the BI didn't get it, so it can get broken. So message here, I'm kind of combining two things at the same time. Technical business users together, that's what Lineage bring. And yes, it can be challenging, but it's very important.
Yeah.
Sorry for the long answer.
No, it's worthwhile. I love it. Putting on that Sherlock Holmes hat to figure everything out.
Murali, is Sherlock Holmes necessary to fix a broken lineage?
I wish, I wish it is true. My issue, the point of data with this lineage breaking can just I add few more points to what Christine mentioned. One of the important is we have to review these lineages with the IT custodians in a periodical fashion. Why it is breaking is technology team is constantly changing with the evolution, and they are not including data lineage as part of their architecture. So one thing we emphasize all these IT custodians or technology team is data lineage should be part of their core architecture component. While choosing a new technology patterns, they should ensure that the lineage can be captured and it can be integrated with the existing, their whatever is their enterprise data lineage tools. That is one of the key point we should emphasize to them. And because this is very, very important, if they're using these applications for the regulatory needs or any complicated things, data lineage is very important. So that is one of that. And second point is periodical reviews and attestations, and get them to the review meetings, and let them review and understand that lineage and confirm that that lineage is accurate. If not, we need to put the energy in the, do the changes and understand what are the changes that are happening, because lineage is going to break quite often because of various reasons that Christian actually explained. And we need to remediate that and ensure that the lineage is intact and caught up to that current changes. So that is one of the point I would like to add. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Murali. And if we'll stay with you, Murali, when we look at the results of our first poll that have come in, and actually on my screen it's very small, so I need to I'm going to need to change my thing now. Are you, Murali, are you surprised by those results?
Oh, not at all, not at all. I'm just actually trying to see that, yeah, this is expected. Yeah, this is exactly the expected behavior. That is what I was actually, yeah, seeing. Absolutely, 44% considering it. Yeah, this is what I expected. I expected a little bit more, but good.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned regulatory compliance just now, Murali, but Cheryl, I mean, can I ask you, how does strong data lineage benefit regulatory compliance processes?
I actually attended an E&Y symposium with the regulators around 6 or 7 months ago, and it was all about data lineage and how we need to be able to explain the results of our reporting. You know, we need to be able to ensure reconciliation and accuracy. And if we find an issue or get a Fed inquiry, we need to be able to demonstrate the remediation of that issue. All of that is based on data lineage. We cannot be successful by putting band-aids halfway through the lineage journey. If I put in chicken to my sausage factory, I don't want to get pork out at the end. I want my chicken. So we've got to be able to trace that along its journey and ensure the consistency of the data. It's
Right.
so
And that
important. And the
today,
regulators reiterated that. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just reinforcing what you were saying. Is not only it's the proof of what's in UBI reports, that where it's coming from, but another complication to the data lineage story is you got to do it for what's happening today in your system today. But why you also need beyond this data lineage, you need a metadata management platform that retains version. This is not about backup, restore. This is like a big decision was made at the end of Q2, 2023. And yeah, sure, the architecture kept changing. So you need to be able to compare where it was coming from at that time to today. So also, a lot of missing, an extra dimension to the data lineage is the version management, time management,
That's right.
basically. And this is not, you cannot afford to restore tapes, pardon, the old mainframe analogy here. You need to be able to compare in real time. A lot of the compliance, and I'm not an expert, is also, the audits are coming from things that were, last year or like several quarters. And did you remedy the problem and prove it? So
That's right.
it's really two dimensions to that. That's very important.
Great stuff.
And along with that, we've got to have a strong change management process, right? As things change, both technically and from a business process perspective, we've got to be able to ensure that it flows appropriately and anyone impacted understands the change.
Great stuff. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to another poll question. And thank you everyone for contributing to the last one. Now, our next one is, we're asking the question, how confident are you that you can trace elements in your data back to their origination? And again, if you use the QR code on the Slido panel, you can enter your responses. And while you're doing that, let me ask Murali, what other processes and use cases benefit from the maintenance of metadata?
Very interesting. Because one of the key component everybody agrees is meeting the regulatory needs. That is the important use case. Within that, I will emphasize a little bit more the same point. Number one is regulators are really looking for trust in the reports that we are producing and transparency. These are the two things when we are reporting, like, yes, we have a 100,000 single family home loans that we reported. We need to show it from the book of records, tracing the data back. There, the new term that the regulators are using is traceability of the data and the number of records by the reporting all the 100 loans that are actually reported by the book of the record system. So Lineage is very, very important in this particular use case. The first and foremost use case for everybody is meeting the regulatory needs for all these important compliance reports, whether it is finance reports or AML reports or trade surveillance or risk reports. All of them needs that. That is the first use case. Second use case is the technology is developing a lot, especially in the AI platforms and all, and a lot of standards are coming in, and how we are actually, because we got to make sure that the producer sometimes is not completely responsible, and the end user really producing the reports are the responsible for providing that traceability and implementing that. So that is one of the important things. So architecture wise, implementation wise, usability wise, this data lineage is going to add significant value. So use cases wise, after the regulatory needs, the business need and the architecture needs and the testing needs, all of them will come in right next to that. Those are the use cases I can identify for this usage of the data lineage.
And Cheryl, what's the situation in Mizuho in terms of use cases that are benefiting from, good metadata?
Well, we've established ourselves across each domain. So I'm the risk data steward. You have a markets, finance, and other data stewards. And so they're identifying key use cases within each domain. So I report into the chief risk officer at Mizuho. So he is my sponsor and identifies across all reporting, what are those key use cases that are going to make us successful. And what we found as we progressed this, that we use the same data that our regulatory reporting partners use, right? And it's become well, how do you define that? And aligning definitions and aligning that golden source of data, because at the end of the day, our foundation is all the same, all right? Regardless of what you're doing with the data, we're using that data the same way. All right. So if I am looking at an egg and I'm making scrambled eggs, I want a certain grade of egg. But if I'm looking at an egg and I'm putting it in the cat food, I love my cat, but the egg doesn't have to be a grade A egg. It can be a little old and I crack it and mix it up in there, all right? So we've got to make sure that that grade A egg is the same for everyone, regardless of their use. It has to be fit for purpose, right?
Yeah.
I like the food analogies of Cheryl. She had quite a few today. As a French person initially, before moving in US 30 years ago, I'm going to put an extra one, but use another word of Murali, who is traceability. And one of the things that I was always saying in US, that for many, many years in Europe, food traceability was very important. Where I was going to the little supermarket around where my parents live, and you buy a steak, Well, you have the full traceability of it all the way to the farm and the name of the farm. They didn't dare to put the name of a cow that I would have really wanted to have, but that's, but behind information, data lineage is information traceability. It's another very important word that I'm glad Murali put out there. And the same way it is important for your food, it's important for your data. And traceability is everywhere. We were talking compliance just a question ago. Another classic case that goes beyond finance, it's in healthcare and everywhere, is the famous GDPR compliance. And that's again a whole classic case of traceability and data lineage. So it's all about early detection. That's from this website or whatever, we detected that's a British SSN. And how far did it go? And if GDPR compliance, it's not only to figure out where to remove it, but it's not to remove it just in that data store, but everywhere after it has propagated, maybe in that from the lake to this data warehouse, and this staging area that was used, God forbid, to AI after. And that's again putting it all together. So yes, compliance, traceability, and all of this, that's definitely important.
But yeah. Okay, Cheryl, maybe you can conjure up some more food analogies in our discussion of the results of the second poll question. We asked how confident you are with your trace element, that you can trace elements in your data back to their origination. Again, the majority of people have gone, respondents have gone for the sort of middle ground. They're moderately confident. Is that to be expected?
Yes, it is, especially as you start this journey, understanding not just where the data is coming from, but getting to the ingestion point of the data, right? It's getting people to accept and understand that this is what we use your data for, from the operations team in the front office that's onboarding and educating them that, hey, when you select that industry code, this is what happens when it's not correct. Education. Knowledge is power, and the more people learn how their daily job impacts our reporting, the easier it becomes to trace the issues and to trace that data element. It's not just you inputting information into your screen, it's you putting information into that screen, and then, oops, if you fat finger or if you make a mistake, this is the impact along the journey. So I think as we transform, because it's a transformation, it's a culture change for so many people. There's a little pullback, but as they understand, it becomes easier. And people are willing to raise their hand when they feel like you're not going to be blamed. Does that make sense?
That does. That does. And how long do you think it'll be before that poll result is reversed and we have very confident at the top of the list?
It's going to take a couple of years.
Right.
But I think the key thing is not giving up, right? It's as you build it. What's that movie? As you build it, they will come. That baseball movie. So,
I would say that
so as
question
people
also
see that,
would need a little bit of context of where, because there are places where the lineage and traceability is pretty good today, especially on the latest cloud technology. If you take the latest classic BI tool, Power BI, Tableau, Click, and all these things to your data warehouse in Snowflake, there is a lot of tools and technology that make people very confident in this area. But you got to remember, any large enterprise, large banks and things like that, this is years, many banks, many sub-banks and technologies. And this is not just these BI tools. They also have the good old classic business objects and Cognos doing some reports. How about that lineage? And also on the ingestion, as Cheryl was mentioning, close to the data warehouse, things are okay, but the further you go to the left, the more difficult it is. I remember working with Washington Mutual Bank before they disappeared. One of the primary cases using all the way to the left was the classic mainframe system, where they wanted to get back to all the way to the COBOL data from the mainframe, where there are COBOL copybooks, and then there are some files on the other side and some very cryptic COBOL code in the middle, where they asked to have mappings between those so that it could trace all the way to what they could see on the mainframe. So again, my point here, confident where? It is more than just the latest technology. It would be great if everything was on the latest technology, but it takes time. It's multi-architecture. It's on-prem and cloud, old and new tool. And there is no child left behind if you want a total lineage from the left and to the right,
Yep, excellent. Thank you, Christian.
I agree.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for responding to that poll. We've got lots more questions to come. So Murali, let me start with you. Why does AI need good data lineage? And it's taken us half an hour to mention AI.
Very our core topic for the day today. I absolutely agree. In the lot of our financial applications, in the risk applications and AML applications, we use a lot of external data sources, or pricing, or rating data, or you can name it, reference data. A lot of them coming from different sources, and when we are actually implementing with a lot of AI applications, and it is very important which data finally we are leveraging it in, and what is the source of it, and do we have a source copy of the data, and who is the provider. That kind of information is very important, whether it is the industry classifications or ratings or pricing. So this is becoming very important in a lot of this risk reporting and regulatory reporting. So when you are actually integrating with a lot of AI applications, you ensure that all these applications, you can capture that through the proper lineage and show that where this data is coming from, how it can be governed prior to use for the critical business functions, and fully understand the data pipelines and implement the required DQ processes before even leveraging the data in your AI applications. So all that can be done with having a proper data lineage to all your AI applications. So when you're before going into the AI processes, please ensure that you have a complete governance process for your AI applications, and via the proper lineage and the proper automated lineage processes to your data sources wherever you are getting it from. So that is one of the important transformation we need to do before just getting into the AI. Otherwise, we will end up having an ungoverned data and unreliable data, and not able to provide complete justification to our end user reporting applications. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Christian, I mean, that was a comprehensive explanation of why we need good data. But what are the dangers of having poor lineage in the data that's fed into AI models?
Well, so first of all, from BI to AI, there are some common aspects. As Cheryl mentioned at the very beginning, it's all about having quality data and data you can trust, to feed the BI, and lineage is very important. It's equally important if the data is feeding the AI instead of BI reports. The famous garbage in, garbage out remains in value. And so from that aspect, there is nothing really new. It has to start from trusted data. It has to start from data you understand where it's coming from. It can be challenging, as Murali mentioned, when you purchase data and you don't have the traceability. Once again, where did it come from? It's like, trust me, it's good data that you purchased and you're going to do AI on it, so you'd better flag it as not proven data lineage or something like this. There is another aspect for AI, as everybody knows, where lineage is involved, but AI doesn't work without context. If you just have data and no context, AI doesn't work. So to not use the bad word, you need a semantic model. You need a semantic view, and you've seen that coming in many tools, like Snowflake has semantic views, Databricks has metrics views, there are semantic models in Oracle, in all these things. So data lineage can help you build these semantic models that are the context for AI. Why? Because the data you have, if you understand lineage, this means you understand all the joins, all the transformations. And even if you understand the lineage within BI, well, you see what they did, the joins and the context and the dimensions and facts, basically the dimensional model, the semantic model. So if you have data without metadata, without data lineage, and you feed it to AI, AI is going to figure out the metadata. If you guide the AI by giving context, a proper semantic model that can be inferred from the lineage you have within UBI and DI around, you fast tracking, your AI. And also at the end, really where this is going now, where data lineage is going to drive some common semantic layers that are going to be used by both BI and AI on the same side. So again, we started with a heartbeat, but it keeps going. And data lineage, not only it's important to understand where the data is coming from, but it actually helps you define what the data is. Because people starts with AI, they forgot that they had many business users and BI reports where people already have the knowledge of the correlation between these data stores, these dimensions, and these facts. Why not reusing what you already have on real intelligence before going artificial and guide this artificial, which will bring more insight, but use what you have already. Lineage is a role on that.
Great. Cheryl, you're nodding enthusiastically there.
Well, I can't agree with the gentleman more. I mean, AI depends on strong data lineage, right? It's actually, we're training it and it's learning from our data lineage. So our model inputs, our model outputs, it demonstrates to the stakeholders that are and our regulators that we're doing the right thing and we're building it concisely. Uh, Again, I can't agree more. It ensures trust and explainability. We talked about audibility earlier. It's just the foundation for everything. It supports data quality. And as I said, model accuracy. It's just such an important learning tool for our AI that we've got to get it right.
Thank you, Cheryl. Now, we've got a few questions in from the viewers, and I thought we'd dip into those. We have one. I have one from a questioner who asks, my company works in a very collaborative way across departments and teams. How can data lineage tools help streamline and improve this setup? Cheryl, we'll say with you.
So we had a team when I used to work at Rabobank called Data Must Win. And as a part of that team, we had organizations from each group attend. And we would sit down in a room and we'd say, all right, ops, who inputs this into the report? Well, we do. How do you get that? It's the questionnaire we send to the client. Well, what happens in that questionnaire? And they explain it. And as we had our regulatory reporting team there and our credit risk team there, it became, wait a second. So that's what you're doing. That's how you're booking it. That's why we're reporting that way. It is so much better to be collaborative. Again, knowledge is power. It's sharing that knowledge that makes us successful. Is that?
Yeah, well, I'm sure our viewer gained a lot from that. If we go back to our questions now, and if we move on to, we talked a little bit about regulations earlier. Let's look at the recent EU AI Act, and that brings together the two themes of this webinar. What impact will it have on companies yet to get their lineage right? Murali.
I not a big expert in UE, European Union AI standards, but I understood, and we are actually implementing for some of our regulatory reports within EU area. What we really noticed is when we are using it in a lot of AI sources, what their act is saying is, it is not the producers who are responsible in accuracy or traceability. The consumers who are really consuming that and providing it to end users, they are really the responsible people. They need to take that and ensure that they are providing the transparency to the end users. That is one of the important points that they're saying. So if you are really implementing any consuming applications with using a lot of AI sources and try to produce your data, you need to make sure that you build that proper lineage and provide that transparency to your end user. We are using so-and-so sources, and those sources are not really uh, you got to provide that footprint very, very clearly with the proper data lineage. That is one of the important points that I noticed. And uh, they are actually exactly what the regulators are really looking, because this AI is actually enabling a lot of new trends and new technology and new data that is coming in with the different models to capture this data. So this within this, the data lineage is becoming very pivotal to provide the complete map of the data, map and transparency. So that is the only way you can actually meet these acts that are actually put in the EU AI Act. And there are four major points that are emphasized. And one of the important point is towards implementing the transparency.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, continue. Yeah, carry on, Cheryl.
I'm not very familiar.
No food analogies.
No food analogy. I'm not very familiar with all the details of the EU AI Act, but obviously everybody's. At least you can control what's on the left and right side of a picture. You can control on the left, make sure you have the right data and you have, lineage on these data. What you feed to the AI. Then you can have governance and control of what you do as the outcome with AI. Are you going to decide if you're going to do surgery or not? Are you going to launch or not the rocket? So the governance and control of what you do out of it. And of course, there is ethic, involved in all of this. It's not an easy thing. So you can control this and that. There is still, it is really needed. We want to use AI. There is still one thing we'll never be able to prove as compared to a BI report and an information you get out of a BI report and out of AI. Out of BI report, that number, that pie chart, or that stats on your poll, I can prove it with the transformation and everything, where it comes from and how it ended up to these numbers. With AI, you can control the data all the way to the floor, to the footsteps, of the AI machine, out there. Then you got the output. But what happens in the middle, it's not black magic, it's the AI, but you cannot prove the decision go, no go to that.
Yep. Go on, Cheryl. Sorry, Cheryl, I thought you went to say something.
I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, okay. But you see my point, you know, we must govern the output of it. We must make sure we have a good input. But in the middle, you will never get the level of proven lineage of a decision where it came from, as you did with traditional reporting. But both, then it might bring you some insight, but you wouldn't have guessed otherwise. And maybe at that point, you'd better find some other ways to actually prove it later. So it is needed. We need AI. Don't misread me on this, but there is the point here of proven.
Yeah. So to Christian's point, what's key is you have your data governance and your lineage traceability. You have your explainability, but you cannot lose your human oversight. That is key. All right. It is so important that as we grow and we start implementing AI, we've got to keep that human oversight in place. That's going to be critical to our success.
Thank you. Yeah, good point. Okay, we've got time for another poll question, another audience poll question. And this one's kind of a bit of a sort of summing up question, I suppose. And we're asking you, where are you realizing most value from having good data lineage? The panel's discussed this already. Let's see what you think. While you're answering those questions, let me go to Murali and ask, what factors can mitigate against the implementation of robust lineage provisions?
Very good question. I will sum it up in 3 or 4 important points that can be actually considered in implementing a robust lineage. One of the important points is always try to go for automated lineage, which can capture automated lineage capture tools, which will capture the lineage for all your development patterns. That is the most important thing. Second is the ability to capture as soon as the change is implemented. So within these tools, enable to capture the change as and when the change is actually implemented in the process, so that you don't have to wait for a whole 1 year to do those reviews and all that. Next thing is, as Christine earlier mentioned, most of the regulatory needs are not asking for the lineage for today's application. They are always asking for historical applications. So when you build this lineage, your metadata platforms should be able to capture, maintain, and provide historical data lineage. What was your system process by this end of December 2023, 2024, things like that. You must be able to pull that from the shelf very easily. That is what your proper requirement, and you should be able to meet that. Then only you will meet the regulatory needs. Then the other important points, what I would emphasize is, in order to implement a good lineage, the firm should build proper standards, data lineage standards, and provide that data lineage standards training to all the IT teams, so that they are going to align their development to produce this data lineage. They'll understand the importance of it and meeting the regulatory needs. If they don't meet regulatory needs, what are the complications that the firm is going to face? All that should be emphasized very clearly. And through the senior management, then they understand the importance of it, and they actually make that as a practice in the data architecture. To any data tools that they're utilizing it, they'll ensure that the lineage can be captured and published into their own metadata platform, the enterprise metadata platform. So those are all the critical points they should consider while implementing a robust lineage.
Right.
I would reinforce on this point. It's a very good one, that data lineage has become so important that it becomes a selection criteria when you pick a new data integration, business intelligence tools, or any technology, will you be able to trace lineage through it? These are, in the old days, you just looked at pricing and performance. Does it do the job? Now, will it integrate in the enterprise that it doesn't become the black box? And, Murali is very, very, making a good point about that. And his other points before are equally important. Most data catalogs don't cut it, because you really need a metadata management, version and configuration management underneath. Basically, you need, it goes everywhere. It's automatically pointing to all your servers, your DI servers, your BI servers. It must detect change, produce a new version, maybe only 5% has changed. So it should be fast. And then it should have the other keywords Murali mentioned is automation, automatic stitching. You realize, oh, there are 20 new reports that were created in that Power BI server. 6 others have been deleted and 15 others have changed. Now, what you realize is that some of these BI reports now are sourcing from a new system. Oh my God, they went straight to SQL Server instead of using Snowflake. We'd better find that out, that there is a missing connection now, and we'd better get where they got it from and keep going. This is alive. This has to work with a foundation that has a lot of automation. If you don't have a metadata management platform with version and configuration management, automatic incremental harvesting, automatic stitching to do end-to-end. It's like many Lego blocks, but they need to be connected. Otherwise, there is no point. If you need to do this manually, you're never going to go anywhere,
Right. Let's look at the results of the final poll question. And so it looks like we're talking about regulatory compliance again. Topped the list of most benefit from good data lineage. Cheryl, is that, we've talked about this already, but I guess it's no surprise that that's come to at the top.
No, this goes back to the E&Y symposium that I attended. This aligns with everything the U.S. regulators spoke about. Where they're realizing more value from our data lineage, but it's a knock-on effect. As we improve our data lineage, our data quality improves, we have better analysis and decision-making tools. It's all a chain effect, right? It's a knock-on effect.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've just got time for our roundup question, a final roundup question, where we like to ask our panelists to give a bit of advice, and we've got a minute and a half, 2 minutes to do this. So, what would you? And I'd like to ask, what would be your best practice advice to organizations beginning to think about lineage for compliance and AI? And so, let's start with you, Cheryl.
My best advice is collaboration, right? As we're looking at the tool, we're doing POCs with technology and the business, getting them to understand the value add of our new metadata platform and the benefits from that. And looking at the attestation, we actually started doing attestation beforehand. And looking at the POC and the tools helps them understand, like, wow, this is really going to help me. This burdensome thing that they're asking me to do monthly now isn't so hard if I partner with them to implement these things.
Thank you. Murali, what would practice advice
Cheryl mentioned? I will just add a few more. I build a standards for the data lineage that you need to meet your end user all use case requirements, whether it is governance. So come up with that. Second is build the trainings to the IT custodians so that they understand the importance and why they need to do it. We need to, as she mentioned, we need to collaborate with them. They need to build this. So we can, as a governance team, we can leverage it. So we need to bring that culture into the teams that, yes, It is not only building the applications, building the transparency to the applications is very important. So that is how we got to teach, and then bring that awareness so that the data lineage can be built very effectively by the tools and technology.
Okay. And Christian, very quickly, because we've run out of time.
I think everything has been said. I was just surprised by the last poll saying, compliance, everything. It's a little bit of a stick and the carrot here, and no food analogy, Cheryl, please. The compliance, definitely it's a stick. You got to do it, otherwise the stick is going to be. But there is a big carrot here, which is the collaboration between the business user and the technical users really out there. And it increased productivity and knowledge awareness between each of those. And that is very, very important, because at this point you can be more productive in performing change, and you have better collaboration between business users and technical users. I think there is a lot of that. It's not just for compliance, but of course, if compliance can be done as on the same boat, that's good.
Well, thank you, Christian, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Murali. Thank you, Cheryl. And again, thank you, Christian. I'd also like to thank our sponsor for this webinar, which is Meta Integration Technologies. Also remind you that we have our RegTech Summit London coming up next week on October the 16th. And you can use your QR code on the screen to get more information to register. Thank you all once again for contributing your excellent, especially the sausage and scrambled egg references. I'm feeling quite hungry now. And may I remind the audience to take our survey at the end of this webinar. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.